Good morning, YouTube. This morning I'm going to look at investing, just a little bit of differences in countries. I noticed that a lot of people checking into my videos were in some other countries, and so I wanted to look at a couple differences in wealth creation and how we look at it in general, and how it's handled in different countries, and maybe what the outcome of those things would be, and how that applies to me in particular. So let's get right into this. So first, we're going to look at the studies and things you've kind of seen about wealth creation and where wealth is being created and who's gaining more wealth. And this is very much equivalent to the outcome-based look at society. And so if you're looking at equality of outcome rather than equality of opportunity, so those are two things that people look at. So if you're looking at quality of outcome, the only way to get a quality of outcome is by discriminating against people that had better opportunity because they're going to have a better outcome possibly. And so I wouldn't advocate that because that doesn't benefit anybody. Wealth is not a net zero game. So there's a belief that's incorrect that means for a dollar to come to one person's hand, it has to come from another person's hands, and that is incorrect. For a dollar to be created, value has to be created in some way, and many times transactions benefit both parties and actually create value. One doesn't have to lose for one to win, so that philosophy is incorrect. So in this thing, let's look at a little bit of differences in equality of opportunity and how that's different, and then let's see how it applies per country. So this is what most people look at, which is the outcome-based scenario, and they say the wealthier are getting wealthier and those things. So if we look at just the richest nations, here's the percent of participation in the stock market. The U.S. is 55%, 33%, 13%, 3% in India, very low. In India, it's not about that they don't want to. A lot of people are very intelligent. They understand they should be investing in companies. They have their own companies a lot of times, or small businesses that they do, but there's a lot of barriers to investing in stocks in the stock market, especially the U.S. stock market in some countries. And so you'll see percentages go down. So opportunity is less in India. The average person is not investing in the stock market. Now, the one thing I'll point out is a lot of these studies, like you'll see, are looking at what percent of income do they save and how are those differences. So there's a study right here about different races, and it talks about what percent of income they save and what they're doing to try to understand what's going on between the races and between the different outcomes that they attribute to equality of opportunity not being the same. Now, quality of opportunity is not necessarily the same for everyone, but that's not based on race in general. It's generally based on where they live, inner city, outside, who their circle is, like who's advising them, what are their beliefs on the world, who are their heroes. So if you look at the heroes out there, and you say to a kid, hey, who's your 5 heroes? You have a good understanding of their belief system, their value system in life. If their 5 heroes are, running bling and, playing ball and those type of things, then that's pretty much where their value system is going to come from. And for me, if you look at all these studies about, wealth creation and income savings, that's not where your wealth comes from. Your wealth comes from what's called unrealized capital gains. That does not show up on your income statement because if you buy a house for $50,000 and it raises to $200,000, your net worth is now $150,000, even if you didn't do anything else right. And that $150,000 never shows up in your income statement. It's never saved. It's not taxed yet. And so that is the primary vehicle for wealth creation for everyone. Now, if that's the primary vehicle for wealth creation, then the question would be, who's buying things that appreciate in value? Who's buying the stocks? Who's buying the real estate? Well, anybody could buy them with a percent of their income. Anybody could put $1 into stocks or $50. The barriers in the U.S. are very low. In India, as I said, the barriers are much higher. And so you have to understand, I guess, what the barriers to entry are in some of these things, and which ones do people not know to do. So the investment advice I would have for people that wanted to be wealthy is, number one, do what the wealthy do. Okay, so understand what they actually do. Read books like The Millionaire Next Door and understand how they behave, how they act. Try to give yourself equality of opportunity, not the outcome. Opportunity is where the outcome comes from, and so if you focus on that, you can really change your position relative to everyone around you. The other thing is, think about your beliefs and say to yourself, does this belief going to get me to the place I want to be at? And think about beliefs in that way. I'll give you an example. Just one example that I use to kind of stir people a little bit is when they ask me where to have a savings account. And my answer is, poor people have savings accounts. It's pretty crude, pretty crass, I know, and it's not really about poor people. What it's about is having that process built where you're investing in things that grow in capital value without being taxed, right? That can't be done in a savings account. A savings account pays you 3, 4, whatever percent interest. You're taxed on it immediately. You're not going to get wealthy in a savings account. And so those are brokerage accounts. Those are, real estate. Those are those type of investments. And the questions from people should be more about, how do I get into those investments? How do I create the opportunity for myself to do that? How do I break down the barriers? How do I continually rise the level of those things I can do? What do wise decisions in those areas look like? So my goal has never been, to gain wealth or any of those things. My goal has always been, and the way I pictured it was, if there's a room and there's 100 people in the room, I want to be the top 1 or top 2 in the wisdom that I used to handle what I was given, right? What landed in my hands, if you just rated everybody in the room, I wanted to be the top 1 or 2 that said, this is how I'm going to make decisions, this is how I'm going to go about handling what I was stewarded with. And so that has been my mindset, and my mindset has been, how do I become that? How do I learn? How do I perceive the world? What belief systems, do I maybe need to unlearn and relearn? And so that's given me a very broad perspective on, what it is. And one thing, that I've seen, lately interacting with a lot of people from India is that the percentages are very low. And so the opportunity is not there to own those assets. And so because the opportunity is not there, you're going to have this massive disparity in the outcome. The second thing I would add in that disparity of outcome is, even in the United States, businesses are moving from states that have higher tax structures to more socialistic states like California, for instance, to states like Texas that have a lower tax structure and a more capitalistic mindset, where it is perceived well if you do well. If you create jobs, if you create a company, if you gain wealth, if you make wise decisions, that has to be perceived as a positive thing for people to want to do it. And if it's not, if it's merely perceived that the wealth are getting wealthier, then people won't seek to do that. People will seek to kind of be whatever is admired in that particular situation and whatever they admire, and they'll try to make decisions in the way that they perceive those people making decisions. And so that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. I hope it's valuable, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.